And last but not least, but my favorite person, he's still my congressman. I'm going to ask him to come up here and say a few words and introduce Charles Poindexter, who's also going to say a few words. Our great congressman, the greatest legislator that Virginia has ever had, Virgil Goode.
Bill, thank you very much. Fellow Franklin Countyans, Republicans, right-thinking Democrats, and right-thinking independents, welcome to the Franklin County Courthouse on behalf of the ticket that's going to sweep Virginia on November the 3rd. Our election in just a little less than a week is a picture of contrast. On one side, we have a team that is dedicated to less government regulation, keeping taxes low, and preserving individual freedom. On the other team, we have some flip-flops on main issues. We can take the gubernatorial candidate, Deeds, and I see the NRA cap back there. Wave that cap around if you don't mind. Jim, wave yours around. All right. And I mention this because our team is endorsed by the NRA. All the way up and down the line. Bob McDonnell, Bill Bolling, Ken Cuccinelli, and Charles Poindexter. All are endorsed by the NRA. Now let me tell you a little bit about Deeds. When he was in the state senate, he still is in the senate, but before he was overcome with gubernatorial ambitions, he voted for Second Amendment. He voted for our gun rights. Then the campaign began for governor, and I'm sure he felt that he had to let Northern Virginians know that he was right in tune with the Democratic left in Alexandria, Arlington, and Fairfax. So he changed his position on gun rights. He co-sponsored and sponsored legislation that would bar private gun sales. Now they call it closing the gun show loophole. But if I wanted to sell Jim Chambers a gun, I can do it now. But if I was up at Hillsville over the Labor Day weekend and saw him out there on the street and wanted to sell him a gun, they would put you in jail for doing that. A big infringement on our Second Amendment rights. Chopping into private gun sales is a huge detriment to the Second Amendment. And that was a big factor in the NRA's endorsement of Bob McDonnell. And when Mayor Bloomberg came down from New York, Bob McDonnell set him packing, and the NRA hadn't forgotten it. So that's a big factor, and Deeds is a flip-flopper on that issue. I'll tell you another thing they have flip-flopped on. Deeds and Shannon were both in the General Assembly when the Marriage Protection Amendment came up, which passed overwhelmingly in Franklin County in 2006. And passed overwhelmingly in Virginia with over around 60% of the vote. Now, Deeds in the legislature said, well, I'm voting for this amendment. I believe that marriage should be defined as between one woman and one man at one time. Deeds voted for it in the legislature, and so did Steve Shannon. But you know what they've said on the campaign trail? To appeal to the left and the special interest in the Democratic Party, They said, you know, I voted for it down there in the General Assembly, but when it was on the ballot in 2006, in November of that year, I voted against it. We don't need flip-floppers in the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, and the attorney general's office. At least have the guts to take the stand that you believe in, whether you're in the General Assembly or one of the top 3 offices in Virginia.
Right.
Let me ask you this. How many of you, and gee, I see you standing back there, I want you to raise your hand now. If you went to Washington on 9/11, or you came here to the Tea Party, or you went over to the Tea Party rally at the Armory, if you went to any Tea Party rally, whether it's in Franklin County, Roanoke, Martinsville, Chatham, Danville, if you've been to a Tea Party event and participated, raise your hand. That is close to, and I hope I'm good, Lindsay, tell me if the estimate's right, about 90% raised the hand, did they not? Now, the ones in Washington say that the Tea Parties are out of step, out of touch, and really they called us worse than right-wing radicals. I've been called a lot of bad names just because I went to the Tea Parties, and so have you. But you know what? Let me ask you this. Of all of you that went to the Tea Party, how many of you are for Bob McDonnell, Bill Bolling, Ken Cuccinelli, and Charles Poindexter? Now, Barack Obama went down to Norfolk just a few days ago and put his arm around Creed Eads and says, he's our candidate. That's right. And you know what? Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi up there now, talking about cap and trade, socializing medicine, taking a number of leftward stands. We can send them a message on November the 3rd by voting for the Republican ticket and tell them Tea Partyism is alive and well in Franklin County. And you know what will happen on November the 4th? If that occurs, and I hope it occurs, I hope we sweep the top 3. We elect a strong majority in the Republicans in the House of Delegates. And let me tell you, the race down in Martinsville is tightening up. Creed is gaining on Ward Armstrong. I understand over in Roanoke, Bill Cleveland is gaining. We are going, in my opinion, to pick up some seats in the House of Delegates, and that will cause them to scratch their heads in the United States Senate and in the U.S. House of Representatives. On Wednesday morning, and hopefully in New Jersey, the Republican candidate will win. But on Wednesday morning, if we do our job here, if Virginia does its job, Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer are going to be around at their Wednesday morning breakfast. They're going to be elbowing each other like this and saying, did you see what happened down there in Virginia?
Yeah.
They're not going to like it. And the news media here needs to record the fact that so many of us in this audience today, and I raise my hand with yours because I've been to a bunch of Tea Party events, we are for individual liberty, we are for freedom, and we want to send Tim Kaine up to Washington to be with his buddy Barack Obama and tell socialism and their liberal agenda, no. To win, we've got to work hard these last few days. Put on the last remaining bumper stickers, get our signs up on the porch at the office. There are plenty of signs for Election Day with the ticket on it. So let's get out, go to work hard, and have cheers on November the 3rd and not 10.
Yeah!